Hello everybody and welcome back to a new mod showcase. Today we've got the Deithland mod, which is will be a complete overhaul of the Empire, but to begin with we're just going to testify a little bit. There's a lot of units here, not too many, a healthy amount we'll say of units here, mostly bringing an unholy amount of gunpowder to the field, like the Empire ever needed it. However, the aesthetics and the theming of this unit mod so far, which will eventually be a faction mod or overhaul mod, is beautiful. It is so nice. It reminds me of just a whole array of different things. I'll show you what I mean when I actually get into it. With that being said, if you haven't already, please do leave me a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. The mod will be in the description below, so please do go check it out. Show the mod creators some love, as with every single mod I've ever covered. Please do support the mod creators, because without mods there would be no videos, and without mods there would be a healthy, unlacking array of content for this game. I'll be honest. So yeah, send them some love. But with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, here we go. As ever with mods like this, I like to show off kind of where you get them from and how to recruit them, just to kind of give you a bit of an inkling as to how easy it is to actually access some of these mods, because a few mods on the workshop take a lot of work to actually get them, or a lot of luck in some circumstances to actually get them. This one, though, you'll be thankful, is one of the easiest mods to just get straight into. So I've just loaded up a Cal France campaign. Taking over Grunberg here, as it's got a free slot for me to build on. And as you can see here, you get access to multiple units in both these skill trees. I won't go over too in depth, but there's absolute boatloads of them. We'll get into them in what they do and what they look like in a battle situation in a minute. But there's multiple different units here, as well as one there, and then over here as well you've got units down this line here, like the Chem Lancers there, and then units down this line as well. That's all it is. It's as simple as that. And to be fair, the units down this line stop at tier 3 anyway, so you don't need to worry too much about these ones. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Super easy. And one of the most easiest mods to just get straight into. The idea of this mod, by the way, is eventually he is going to try and completely replace the Empire with what is essentially like a steampunky slash World War II slash I don't know. It's a very weird vibe. One of the characters looks a bit like a robot cowboy. I saw him under the pictures, but let's actually get into it, just so you can understand exactly what we're in about. You'll see it. As soon as you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah. I know what you're saying. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right, let's kick things off with the tier 1 units of this mod. There are 3 tier 1 units, so these are going to be the first chumps you're going to be recruiting. Straight off the get-go, you've got a infantry choice, which is a kind of a rare commodity in this mod, because most of the units in this mod have some variation of a ranged weapon. Now with these boys, I mean, he's dual wielding shovels. This mad lad is dual wielding shovels. They remind me a bit of the Death Corps of Krieg from Warhammer 40k. Yeah, loving it. So your tier 1 military infantry option. These are going to be your damage dealers, weak against armor with 120 entity count. A nice first choice to get in there and try and do some damage. Stats not looking too crazy there. Armor, a little bit armor, but nothing too bad. Expendable though, so that if they do die, it's not the end of the world. And they also have shubsies, which means that if they are losing in melee combat, they have plus 5 damage reflection, but do a little bit less damage while actually fighting with that -6 melee attack, which is unfortunate. With that being said, let's head over here to the next unit. Gone have the shovels, and out come the rifles with the Fume Corps handguns. Looking pretty naughty there, looking really nice. Again, not that heavily armoured, only having 30 leadership. Alright, range 75, so not being able to get too many shots down range before obviously going into melee, but they do have armor piercing missiles, which is a running theme with this mod because most of them do have some variation of a rifle. Decent melee combat with 120 entity count, which, you know, nothing to scoff at. So if you was going for a thematic army of just this mod, this isn't too bad of a unit to get up there. Cheap, affordable, and can kind of hold the ground a little bit better than some of the other units. Like this, for example. This is your last tier 1 unit. This is the Tinmen Arbalist. Entity count of only 12. So rough. Not many of them. Looking really cool though, and those arbalists are huge. Good range at 100, and they also come with the Incendied effect, which does 12 to 25 damage and has all of those debuffs there, as you can see, which is incredible. Really nice unit again. Kind of the way I would like to envision this is you'd kind of have your Gala Dogs like this. You'd have your rifles on a hill a little bit behind them. If your front line falls, they're ready to support, and then you have your arbalists behind them. Right? Tier 1 army, straight off the get-go, this is kind of what you're looking at. Shooting down range, debuffing them, and absolutely whittling them down with the fire damage. Shooting down range, armor piercing, trying to do as much damage before going into melee, and then at the front here, glorious melee with the duels wielding shovels. Well, that being said, let's head on to the tier 2 units. Okay, dokie, so here we are with the tier 2 units. As you can see, these are looking a little bit more naughty, a little bit more heavily armoured. And I mean, these boys have got some pretty cool gas mask with goggles going on back there, bless them. I mean, look at that. Kind of remind me of like grunts from Halo. Like, look at that one. Loving it. So these are your Death Guard. These have got blaster key rifles, which basically gives them a variation shot. You've got your normal rifle shot here. You've got blaster key. As you can see here, their stats. This is the rifle damage, 17 with 145 range. Swap it over to blaster key and let it update. There you go. 90 range, so not as much range, but 60 damage instead of the 17 I think it was before. Armoured, armor piercing missile, special ranged weapon, which is obviously the blaster key, and then having 100 entity count as well. So pretty good on numbers of boys there. One running theme as well is the majority of the units here have black powder discipline, which basically means that if they don't move for 20 seconds, they get plus 40 accuracy and plus 10 reload skill. So pretty nice there. Being able to hide in forest is pretty cool as well. They've also got Salt the Earth, which as long as their hit points are greater than 50%, they have plus 5 melee attack, plus 5 physical resistance, immune to psychology, and a plus 4 leadership. So not too bad, and that lasts forever until obviously they drop below 50%. Let's head on over to the counterparts. So the things with the tier 2 units is there's only one unit effectively with 3 variations. So here we've got the Axelox rifles, so that is your primarily ranged and ranged only, so hide them at the back somewhere. Here we've got the Axelox rifles variant. As you can see here, oopsie daisy. As you can see here, these boys are basically strapping halberds and stuff to the end of the guns, which I think is hilarious with their I mean, that one, look at that one. That one's cool. I don't know if this is a mod variation. I've just not looked at the rifles all too much in the normal game, but it's got a pouch on his and a little dagger strapped onto it. How cool. I don't know if that's a mod thing or if I've just been that blind to normal muskets in the game. Really cool looking regardless. Armoured, armor piercing missiles, and got charged defense against all because of their hybrid weapon. Stats there to boot, bonus beast large. So yeah, anti-large is what I was going to say. And armor piercing for melee, and then they've got their armor piercing missile shot there. Don't have a variation, but kind of a nice unit to have in the flanks. Tier 2 unit as well, so kind of cheap, quite affordable I would say, and good to have in the flanks against like cavalry and stuff like that. Last unit here is the Death Guard with carbines and shields, so these are going to be your more front line if you're just going again for a thematic army. These boys are decent in melee, have a shield as well as a little tripod blessing there for their gun to sit on, which I think is hilarious. Hybrid unit, armoured and shielded and decent melee. Entity count of 100. Nothing to write home about, not too good in the missile strength department, nor on the range. These boys are going to be more of your frontline boys to get into the nitty gritty before the rest of the ranged options here. But really nice looking. I mean, my boys are carrying shovels ready to go into glorious melee. Yeah, I love the aesthetics of these units. Like I say, it just gives me such mixed vibes with like the Death Corps from Warhammer, literal like World War styling from World War One and World War Two, like fighting in trenches and stuff like that. You'll see as well, I'll show you when we get to the tier 3 units, some of them look a bit like a Fallout. I think it's the NCR troop. You'll see. Well, with that being said, let's head on over to the Fallout boys, the tier 3 units, and see what they've got to do. Okay, so here we go. The tier 3 units differ from the tier 1 and tier 2. So the tier 1 and tier 2 units are more of your core infantry / missile units, kind of a core units you'd be recruiting to an army. The tier 3 units are your specialised units, which have monstrous capabilities. We'll look at them in a minute. Looking at the more tame of the tier 3 units, straight off the get-go, is the only other unit in this mod which doesn't have a ranged weapon, but kind of does. It'll make sense in a minute. Let me show you his stats. So these are the Chem Lancers. So these are anti-large and decent in melee. Entity count of 60 for a tier 3 cavalry unit choice isn't too bad. They're going to be able to get around the battlefield quite quickly with 70 speed. Don't expect the world from them. They're only tier 3. They will get wrecked by tier 5 cav or whatever, tier 4 cav. But for tier 3, not too bad, especially when you look at this. So similar to what the Arbalists do, these can basically throw bombs, right, which have 120 meters range and bring with them a whole variety of debuffs. Again, there, as you can see, 12 of them. They can do that 12 times, which is insane. You imagine these flanking around the sides, right, of the enemy formation, bombing one of them and just charging into the back of another. Like this unit especially could be devastating. Having that debuff to be able to debuff potentially the front enemy elite units, because I mean, look at that, minus 15% melee attack and minus 10 melee defense. Just being able to run behind them and launch it on the front line could be insane. Speed as well to stop cavalry chasing them if you're trying to obviously do stuff like that and you've got some fast cav after you. Whacking down their speed by 15% is nothing to scoff at. Leadership as well for poor leadership units. Accuracy for good accuracy units. Really good. They do have a variation. So they've got Chem Lancers with drilling guns, which have 2 different shots. They've got the carbine here, which if we look here, has 90 range and 110 damage. Armor piercing, which isn't too bad. They also have fire while moving, as well as being immune to psychology, which is pretty cool. As well as a little bit of missile resistance. They also have those same kind of stats there, the immune psychology and missile resistance. The cool thing is as well, though, is they've got the shotgun, which just look at the damage output. So it goes from 110 to 253. And the range doesn't change. I think all what changes is how fast they reload. I would assume with a shotgun it takes them a little bit longer to reload. But again, a really nice cavalry choice, especially just imagine him getting chased. Bearing in mind it's armor piercing missiles, right? Imagine him getting chased by like top tier cavalry, and they just whack on the shotgun, and off they go. But aesthetically, very pleasing. I'm loving the horses, by the way, with the little gas mask on. It is hilarious. I absolutely love it. Look at them. But with that being said, let's get on to the more specialised of the tier 3 units. Some of them are batshit crazy, so enjoy what is to come. Right, here we go with the tier 3 specialised choice. This is what I was on about earlier when I said about the NCR trooper. It kind of reminds me of something from Fallout. Maybe even like the Minutemen, right? Another settlement needs your help. I've just triggered PTSD for everyone who's ever played Fallout 4. I do apologise. I'm glad you're here. Another settlement needs your help. Fuck off, Preston. So these are mortar muskets, very self-explanatory. Stats nothing to really scoff at or clap at. Like they're ranged units, okay? They're not going to do well in melee, but they'll survive. Armor piercing as well as the multi-shot ammunition. Only 12 entity count, but they have 200 range. They have their explosive shells here. Scatter scatter shot shells there. There's too many S's there, Jesus Christ. As well as Cinderwind shells. They obviously have the hide ability as well as the black powder discipline. So pretty good on that part, but the range is pretty nice to be able to just blast down range. Let's head on to the next unit here. We get ready because they are, yep, they've got rocket launchers. I've seen these in battle as well. They are insane. So they've only got 6 units in their squad. There's only 888 health to share between all 6 entities as well, which is like less than 200 health each, which is not great. Bless him. However, they've got 150 range, which is pretty good range, as well as 137 missile strength. So this is your normal explosive shell. This is going to be what you're kind of using against. Oh, sorry. This is it. Sorry. This is your high explosive shell. This is what you're going to be using just generically against the infantry or whatever of the enemy units. This is the heal ammunition. Don't be deceived. I'd like to think that everyone who has a rocket launcher like this, it's got a scope in it, for God's sake. I'd like to think everyone who's got a rocket launcher like this is at least trained, because if I got told I got healing ammunition and I saw a dying man on the battlefield, you bet your ass I'm walking straight up, point blank, and shooting him in the face with it. It's healing ammunition, right? No, not in that sense. It's high explosive, anti-large ammunition. Sorry, lost in translation a little bit. So this is going to be a good variation to obviously focus down the anti-large. Yeah, sorry, the large entities the enemy might have, not your dying comrades on the floor. Please don't shoot them. And then they do have also airburst ammunition, which basically will fire up and then explode in the air and do more damage as it comes down, which is really nice. Moving on to the Danzigers here. They are an anti-infantry, damage-dealing and armour-piercing missile unit. These boys just churn and churn and churn these guns around. They shoot quite fast down range. The good thing about these as well is I've seen these in battle as well. Say, for example, this one's in melee. These ones still shoot, which is really nice. So got the capability of just blasting boys while the front of them are still in melee. Only got an entity count of 16, so you know, kind of want to be careful, but they've got a lot of health. 40 armor, not too bad. But yeah, a nice tier 3 unit just to kind of blast people away. Range at 90, so you know, they'll do bits. 45 ammunition, they'll be shooting for days. And the last boys here are basically your Warp Block Jezzails, right? Obviously they are themed after the Caffeine units. You can tell because they're not dancing around like they're on crack, like the Skaven. I just can't for my life of me remember what they are. So these are just the Warp Jezzails of the Empire world now. The Tiller guns. These are armor-piercing missiles. They've got anti-large, which is going to be great if you're going up against obviously like flying monsters and stuff like that, being able to snipe them out of the sky. Damage dealer and good range. With 300 range, by the way, they've got better range than the mortars and stuff like that. That's almost in comparison to like a lot of artillery. 300 range is absurd. They've got armor piercing as well as the shield breaker, which basically gives a 25% chance that the shield just won't block, or anything doesn't block, which is really cool. They've got the black powder discipline, just like again most of the rifle, the gunpowder unit. Sorry, there we go. Jesus, I lost my words there. So again, stop them from moving. They're going to get better at shooting. They've got hide and they've got snipe, which is great. However, just take into account that snipe isn't the same as stalk. So don't sit them here and think, oh yeah, they're invisible, let's blast them sort of thing, because they're not. Alright? If you whack them in the forest, nice one. Obviously then you'll be blocking the shots a little bit, but if you whack them in the forest, nice one. They'll be able to shoot from the forest and stay hidden, but they won't be able to stalk out in the open and shoot down range like that. So just take into account that they're not stalking, but they are sniping, as weird as that sounds. Let's add on to the last 2 units of this mod showcase, and then we'll kind of, what my plan is I don't know if you can see the abominations over there, just many a row of zombies. I'm just going to line them up and we're just going to kind of fly over them as they're shooting down range, because if I was to show you each and every one of these shooting animations, we'd be here for the next 16 years. So we'll do it like that. We'll show them off kind of collectively against just scrubs. So let's quickly head on to the last 2 units. Okay, here we go. The last 2 units, they are counterparts to each other. It is basically Iron Man, but from a World War setting, or from like a steampunk setting. Looking really cool. Comes with some cool, aesthetically pleasing abilities. However, one of them is kind of horrific. So these are your Pyre Hulks with Fusilaxes, armoured, armour-piercing missiles, and anti-large, entity count of 16 and being tier 3. Armour absolutely out the wazoo, some really good stats. These boys, don't be afraid to get into melee, but I'll get into why you need to be careful when they do. Weapon strength is 43 with bonus fuselage and armour piercing, and then their missiles have that shield breaker effect as well as armour piercing as well. Looking at their abilities here, we've got Siege Attacker, great, nice one. You can bring these in instead of monsters to knock down doors, so you don't need artillery. You've got Shock and Awe, which means that as long as they are winning melee combat, they cause fear and have +5 damage reflection, which is really nice. And then here, they've got In Working Order, which as long as they have more than 75% health, they have +1 mass and perfect vigor, which is really good. Obviously to have that perfect vigor and keep on going around the battlefield. Now, one thing you may notice from their stats is their speed is abysmal, right? These boys are not going to be running around the field in the sense of actually going from point A to B in any fashionably time, right? They're going to be slow as shit. The last ability, Breakdown. If they go below 25% health, they lose 75% of their speed, which is incredible. So at 22 base speed, right, we're literally talking at maybe 6 speed, at which point they may as well not be moving. These boys, if they go below 25% of their cap, are donezo. They're not going anywhere. So can they fight in melee? Yes. Do they do well in melee? Yes. But if they get knocked down by like anti-large units and stuff like that, just knocking down their capacity, because they do count as large, knocking down the health to below 25%, they are not going anywhere. So just take into account with that. The last unit here is a counterpart to what we just looked at with the Pyre Hulks. These boys are shielded with volley gauntlets. The exact same abilities apply here. So you've got the Siege Attacker, Breakdown, In Working Order, and Shock and Awe. So good abilities, and then an abysmal one. A little bit less armor, but obviously they're shielded. Range isn't as good, but 158 weapon strength. Literally is get the volleys in, do as much damage as you can, and then glorious melee, but not too much glorious melee. You know, a substantial amount of glorious melee, and then get the fuck out. But with that being said, let's have a look at a little bit of a battle. I'm not going to say battle because we're not going to watch it all. We're just going to watch these boys blow the loads, alright? All for the name of the Empire. Let's get into the battle. Oh god. Okay, so here we go with some nighttime semantics. I thought what would be pretty cool is to probably show off the rocket launchers, because we all want to see some rocket launchers in action, right? They've got good range, as you can see the Giselles are shooting down already. We've all seen some Giselles in action, so we don't need to worry too much about them, right? But I mean, they're looking pretty cool nevertheless. That being said, here comes some more shots from some more units. I think these are the mortars going in now. Let's just move these up a smidge. No, actually, I think that should be right there. I think it should be fine. Plenty of zombies for him to shoot from, and as soon as I get close enough, it is going to be an abomination of just mangled mess on the floor. One good thing about this is it is recommended to come with another mod. You don't really see it too much from these because not a whole lot is firing. However, I'll show you in a minute. Let's just shoot these. That should. Let's have a look. There we go. Oh, wobbly jubbly. So that was, there's only 6 entities. That was 1 volley. 13 kills. Not too bad, but absolutely outputting loads of damage there. High explosive damage there. We could go for the airbus. Airburst. Sorry. It's not the airbus. But there you go. You can see also over here. that's the other mod which comes with it. And you don't have to activate it if it's obviously not really the thing for you, but as they're shooting, they're leaving quite the smoke trail behind. This is that Cinder Blast attack as well, which is happening here, where it's kind of setting them on fire. Looking absolutely beautiful. And as they get closer, oh, is that my Empire General over there by himself? Listen. As they get closer, obviously they'll swap out into their... God, that is so much gunfire. They'll swap out into their melee choice, sorry. Which for a lot of them are shovels, which is hilarious. Here we go, look. Oh, alright, he had a second guess. He got one last rocket out. It's right now. Now I'm going to go for it. Glorious melee. Who's going for another nova? There we go. He's got a shovel out. Again, just aesthetically, as they go into melee, it's so nice to see these boys. It just looks so nice. The mod creator again has done such a good job. You've got the Pyre Hulks over here going a bit crazy. God, with this shields there, anti-large variants there, cavalry on the flank over here looking really nice. Let's go back over here to some of these front line boys. Again, we may not win this battle because I'm not playing it properly at all. Here, alright, these ones aren't using it, but these ones, if they go into melee, the back of the units still fire while the front are in glorious melee. So it's really cool to look and see. Oh, this is the melee option, that's why they're not doing it. That is actually the generic melee boys. And you've got the melee cav over here doing God's work to the undead hordes. But yeah, really, really nice. Let's see if I can just kind of show you that. Let's get them, send them into melee here. God, there is so many zombies over there. Send them into melee here and see if I can show you the backlot. Now if I take that off, are we going to do it? They were doing it. No, the back ones are now just sat there watching. They definitely do it though. I feel like it's because I've messed up with their formation there a little bit. But yeah, they definitely do it. But there you go. That is another mod showcase for you there. A really cool looking mod. Again, as ever, the mod will be in the description below. This was the Death Guard mod showcase. Sorry, no, the Deithland mod showcase. Sorry, I'm thinking about the unit mod. Sorry, the units down here. That was the Deithland unit. Jesus Christ, will I just speak properly? Deithland mod showcase. As ever, the mod will be in the description below. Please do check it out if it is something which tickles your pickle. In the future, the mod creator has already said that he is going to be looking at doing basically a complete overhaul. So expect new units, expect new lords, and the full shebang to go to boot. But Jesus Christ, these Pyre Hulks are something that are absolutely flying now. With that being said, leave a like if you haven't already. Likes really do help push the YouTube agenda, keep me in the spotlight a little bit more. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs, hopefully by the end of this year, which would be incredible if you could. And with that being said, I hope, Jesus Christ. Alright, these are doing it, look. Sorry, on a side note. Oh, I just lost his head. Melee at the front, still shooting at the back. Love to see it. Love to see it. And these boys are getting churned down. Jesus. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good rest of your day, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next video showcase. Oh, live stream. I'm streaming tomorrow, by the way. Video should go out on Saturday, and then streaming tomorrow. So please pop in Sunday. Thank you. Love you. Bye.